We are all so busy these days, and we're always looking for helpful tips and advice on how to find a better work-life balance. We all have to earn a living and pay the bills, but are you doing enough to look after yourself and your health at the same time? Now, many of us prioritise careers and work, and we're slaving over our computers and mobiles all the time. But does this make you cut corners on your diet, exercise or sleep? I'm Dr. Ben Sinclair, and welcome to Health versus Wealth with Dr. Ben. Our guests share their life experiences and we discuss their challenges in their health and their wealth. I hope their experiences will help you with your life and health. My guest today is Safaraz Ali. He's a force to be reckoned with in the West Midlands business community. He employs over 1,000 people, and he's also a social entrepreneur, engineering change. Saf, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. Really appreciate you giving me the invitation.
Thank you so much for coming. And now you're also a business owner, an inventor, an author, a mentor. What would you say is your favourite cap to wear?
Firstly, thank you so much again, once again for coming. Really appreciate that. I'm also a podcaster as well. That's another hat that away. But I'm usually sitting on the other side. So I would say it changes depending on the focus. Really, I've enjoyed all three. Writing as well. So I write blogs, I write business books. But it depends on where the focus is. And it's a combination of all of those things. So that's the balance, really. So a bit of everything, really.
Fantastic. Now, you're the CEO of Pathway. Can you tell us a little bit about what Pathway does for adults?
Yeah, so Dr. Ben, Pathway Group is a social enterprise organisation. It was set up 24 years ago. And primarily focuses really social mobility in all its forms. So it leads on education, but it also is about employability, getting people a first job, which is sometimes very, very difficult. It's looking at working with graduates. Some graduates, obviously, they leave their studies and they find it difficult because they haven't got the experience. So it's about dealing with those issues in terms of underemployment. It's also about getting people to be the best version of themselves. So it's about enhancing careers. And really supporting businesses. So it's a combination of those things. So there's elements of basic education in there, basic skills, social mobility, dealing with health issues, dealing with education and so forth. So it's a combination of those things. Yeah,
I love those values. Yeah. And has that arisen out of your own experience? Because I know that you had a hard time aged of 15, 16 in your own teenage.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the values for the organisation, it is about changing lives through skills and work. And my life changed as a result of education. Initially because of failing in the education sector. I saw at that young age. So I'm born and bred in Birmingham. So my father, first generation Pakistani immigrant. My parents both came into the country in the late 1950s. Stayed here for work purposes predominantly. So born in Birmingham, raised in Birmingham, and suddenly I'm sort of going to the local Hodghill Comprehensive School. And doing okay initially, but then I sort of lost my way a little bit at the age of 14, 15. And to be frank with you, I didn't take my GCSE seriously. At the time it was O-levels, but I didn't take my O-levels and GCSEs that seriously. And I failed all of them, which was a massive shock to me because I thought, based on my sort of mocks and so forth, that I would at least pass. Get a grade C.
It's quite a shock.
So it was a massive shock to me, and I think I needed that shock to a certain level because what that did is it sort of, my dad thought education isn't for me, and he says, we've got an opportunity at the local factory that my father, he was a foreman at the time. He was a lead in front of, looking after about 200 people.
Right.
And he says there's opportunities that we have for something called YTS, Youth Training Scheme. YTS, but also the opportunities with regard to sort of internships and apprenticeships as well.
Okay.
So they've got a young people program, why don't you come along? So I did that for a couple of weeks and I thought, this isn't for me.
Right.
And so I convinced my father the fact that, I didn't take it seriously. I have got some ability, I believe, in terms of academic, and I need to really look at this again. And at the time, we struggled in terms of getting careers advice because I was being the eldest child, and my father wasn't didn't know much about. Didn't have the connections and the contacts in the education sector. We struggled a little bit with careers advice, but we went around to a number of colleges and looked at the vocational qualification route, which was a BTEC. And really that got me progressing to further on to degree. So I was first in my family to get a degree in banking and financial services, and then I changed in my outlook. Became quite geeky in some aspects of it initially.
What happened? What did you?
So I think the banking. So I started doing my sort of super strength really was statistical analysis, which is a field in itself. It's a micro niche field. So you're not really an accountant, but you're not really. It's statistics and going down the route of sort of just a lot of analysis. So more in terms of analysing sort of trends and patterns and so forth. Prior to any of the data analysis, a lot of this used to be sort of number crunching and so forth, and that's that element of it really.
And I think you were working weekends as well at this point, weren't you?
So I was again, I was trying to really move up that sort of ladder of career and so forth. And one of the things I started doing was really looking at how do I become more marketable to an employer. And I thought my background, I've not really had much experience. I'm fairly one-dimensional. How do I market myself a little bit better to an employer? And one of the advice that I got was to actually start volunteering a little bit more and start pushing myself out there and start giving back. We talk about giving back now, but giving back at the time was about being able to talk to people, being volunteer, and therefore you've got those individuals who are you working with as potential referees. In addition to that, you've got a little bit more that you can talk about, a little bit more that you can put onto your CV, and it enhances that value that potentially to a prospective employer really.
So what did you start volunteering?
So one of the areas that I started looking at, again, it was completely by chance, is working with a local college. Started looking at work that they needed to support asylum seekers and refugees. So we had a number of asylum seekers and refugees coming from the world, from the world as well, but mainly from Iraq, Afghanistan, some from the ex-Yugoslavian countries, some from Africa, and really helping them settle. So that was about coaching, that was about mentoring, that was an element of supporting them with their issues, how it could be housing, money, helping them set up a bank account, referring them to the local colleges for English classes, ESOL, English for speakers of other languages, and really being that buddy, really that support. Dealing with that trauma of coming here and then really trying to integrate with the communities, and so my work really was working on an individual basis. And then I realised the fact that even though I was feeling sorry for myself, the fact that I failed my GCSEs, I haven't got much to add to an employer. How do I get onto that career ladder? I realised the fact that I'm actually very, very lucky to have been born here, to have the opportunities that I had.
Yeah.
But it's all because it's all relative, and so I thought very lucky to have all of these opportunities, and I've got all of these people that I'm working with and talking to, and they've got nothing, and they haven't given up hope, and for me that was like a massive turning point for myself, really.
It's a real sort of pivotal moment.
Absolutely.
Now, was that in 1999? What happened?
So I had the opportunity where, initially my reasons for doing the volunteering were about what's in it for me. It's that career thing. It's that, I can talk to somebody and so forth. And it just changed from what's in it to me to what can I give back and what can I do. And I changed and I pivoted a little bit in terms of that outlook that I can do this and I'm doing it for the right reasons. Because I felt like a little bit of a fraud at the time to say, I'm just doing it for a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
And then I really got passionate about it and listening to the stories and so forth and those opportunities. And I thought, could I do this and make this as a career move? Prior to that, I was very much about, career in terms of, the progress of progress of my sort of career in the banking field and the financial services field.
And these things seem sometimes quite opposing, don't they? You know, sort of wealth creation on the one hand, but actually you're being drawn into social capital.
Absolutely. And again, you know, when you're in the banking and financial services sector, you know, there wasn't no CSR, there was no corporate social responsibility. It was all about who brings the biggest return on investment for the employer, who's the best employee, who's got more prospects, and a lot of that was about potential. For me, I completely changed. I really pivoted, and I thought, you know, yes, I've got to make a living. Yes, I'm still ambitious. I still want to grow as a person, but you know, I'm not giving up that. But can I combine that with, you know, making a difference to other people's lives? And that opportunity in 1999 was really for me to launch the business that is now Pathway Group. Pathway Group now is that social enterprise business. It's got a number of businesses within that. We have a home care business, Nationwide Care Services, that sits alongside that. We have a foster care outlet as well, and then we have this employability skills division. So if you're talking, you know, you're talking health, you're talking sort of education, and then really everything around that in terms of wraparound service.
Wow.
Lucky to have within our team just over 1,000 people, 1,050 people. We're employing people in the West Midlands, but we've also got now a footprint in the northwest and the northeast as well. So really proud and really privileged to have that opportunity.
Can you tell us a bit more about what you do and the people that you help?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Bell. One of the initiatives that, just to give you an idea of flavour, one of the initiatives that we created was the Multicultural Apprenticeship Awards, the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance, and that was predominantly because there's so many people who, you know, had a sort of a stigma and misunderstanding of what apprenticeships are and what apprenticeships and the benefits of apprenticeships. And what employers were telling us is that we're just not getting the applicants in, and we've got too many people potentially going into university, and then what they're finding is that they haven't got the experience, they haven't got the sort of the knowledge which is more relevant to what employers are looking for. So we created a sort of an initiative, a cause really to say, you know, let's promote apprenticeships fully, let's try to destigmatize the understanding of apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are not for people who have no choice, but for people who, you know, it's an alternative choice. So exactly. What we've done is we've created a little bit of a movement, particularly where communities, are, so looking down on apprenticeship opportunities. And what we've done is we're really trying to get that message across in terms of those opportunities. That's just one aspect of it. We work also with what we call the hardest to reach individuals who have been long-term unemployed. Individuals where, you know, generational families have never worked, and how do you get them from that mindset of, you know, working is for somebody else, and, you know, how work becomes effectively an identity. You know, our work is our identity. You know, it's so close to us. You know, it is our life. It is part of our life. It is part of who we are. But, you know, long-term unemployed don't see themselves as that. You know, they haven't got that sort of that mindset, and how do you actually work on that with those individuals? So these are all different aspects of it. Last year we've one of our vision, the tagline that we use is changing lives through skills and work, and I'm proud to say that 4,500 people went through our centres, our activities. And hopefully we've changed or made a difference to those individuals in terms of their lives. Last year,
impact 4,500 people. That's in 1 year. That's massive. That's
last year, and the year before that was very similar. You know, just slightly less than that, 4,200. And, you know, for the last sort of 3 years, we've been doing more than 4,000 people. This year, again, our aspiration is another 4,500. So hopefully we're on target to that. We work from an academic year to an academic year. So our year starts from August, finishes in July. So, you know, we've done 6 months already in this year, and hopefully we're on target to make a difference to another 4,500 people.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. And I love your mantra for business. Stay relevant, stay curious.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that and what that means to you.
So I'm 51 now, and in many aspects of it, you know, when I was say 20, you know, in my 20s, that's a fairly hefty age. I mean, that's old age. You know, when I was looking at that perspective, and now at the age of 40 and 50, 51 going on to 52 this year. one of the things I'm sort of really keen about is the energy levels that I have. So for myself is, I'm quite energetic, I'm quite anxious, I'm curious in terms of, continuously learning. I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. I'm always, inquisitive in terms of what opportunities there are. And because you're curious, because you're pushing yourself, hopefully you stay relevant as well. Because I think, we all need to stay relevant in our areas. We all need to, become that go-to person for whatever that is, whatever our niche is, and for us to carve that identity in, whatever area that we have that specialism, whatever area that we've got the skill sets. And from my perspective, the reason I'm so proud of that is the fact that that's what's got me here, because my name was dropped in a conversation. With a colleague, with a mutual colleague, a mutual sort of friend, and that's a sort of a case of, you've got to be in the right conversations. Your name has to be dropped, and referral is something that we all strive for. And if your name can be referred and somebody mentions your name when you're not in the room, I think that's one of the best things, and it's a big accolade. So I strive for that.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, we should mention you do have your own podcast, Canny Conversations.
Canny Conversations,
which is great. So I'd recommend people have a listen to that too.
Appreciate that.
Because you are a canny man, and you used an interesting word there. You said you were anxious and curious. Do you find that stressful? And how's your work-life balance? Do you ever switch off?
So I have suffered from anxiety, and for me, being anxious is usually a negative thing, but it's also an element where it's helped in terms of sometimes it's helped me in terms of actually push myself and ensure the fact that the dots are dotted and the I's are crossed, or whatever the analogy is or the word is. So it's that, and I've had to sort of control my anxiety, to be frank with you. And I've had to sort of try and methodically switch off, because there's moments where just the fear of something can lead to more sort of problems. So it's a vicious cycle in some aspects of it. So I've had to think about that. I've also have had problems with sleep, and that's one of the areas that I've been focusing about. I read a book. Probably about a year ago now, Doctor, when I'm trying to remember the name, Arianna Huffington, Sleep Revolution, and that's one of the reasons why then I've sort of bought a smartwatch. I'm sort of looking at my sleep patterns.
Are you tracking things?
I'm tracking things a little bit more now, and it's probably been the biggest change in my life is this watch that I'm wearing now.
Interesting. What have you learned from tracking your data? What have you changed?
So the times that I go to sleep. I mean, before my sort of relationship with sleep was sleep is for wimps. And
sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, and you know what, and it's a waste of time.
Yeah,
and people used to say, you got to get good kip, and you got to get some good sleep. And for me, it was like, okay, it's getting the least amount of sleep that I could get, but really? Then getting still the same energy levels and so forth. So from my perspective now, I observe my sleep in terms of the quality of sleep, not just in terms of the length of sleep, but also look at, again, I refresh myself with the book quite often. I've got it on my bookshelf, my bedside cabinet, and I would recommend that to anybody really. Anything in terms of understanding sleep patterns, the level of sleep, in terms of the different quality of sleep. Exactly. And I get all the reports now, and I'm very observant in terms of how I'm sleeping, and how and the pre-sleep ritual as well, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, the work up to sleep.
Yeah, and all of that sort of thing. So that's probably been the biggest change for me as well.
Yeah, that's great. Now, it's really interesting because I'm an entrepreneur. We're both entrepreneurs. We have a lot of drive, and our psychologist at Dr. Finley's practice would say that we need to kind of contain our drive state and balance it with our soothing state. And sometimes, because we're so driven, we drive into anxiety and meticulousness, and we're not kind enough to ourselves. You've started observing sleep as one of the things that and your need for a wind down. Is there anything else that you think you could do to slow or temper your drive? Because you have so much internal drive?
I mean, I get frustrated a lot, Dr. Ben. I get frustrated by many things. I mean, when we're trying to, have targets and so forth, when you're working with people, different types of people, and you've got, you've got the same sort of, and not everybody's got the same level of passion, not everybody's got the same level of drive, and then you're trying to, that sometimes can be frustrating, and it's about really understanding the fact that, again, because we're in that sort of education field, sort of personal development field, sometimes you forget all of that and you think, what, come on, let's make this work, and people sometimes don't have that, they have a different outlook and so forth. So I've tried to come to balance with that a little bit more, and not get frustrated. I think that frustration then leads to sort of feeling a little bit out of control, feeling the fact that I need to take over. And then I have to sort of use different methods of working, because it doesn't work. Frustration doesn't help anybody, and
it doesn't add an hour to life, is it, to worry about anything? So it's quite stressful as well, and we take that inside, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, this all sounds quite, you're quite a busy guy. Do you take time off? What's your lifestyle like?
It changes, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's like it's a focus. So I've gone through moments where I'm sort of super focused on health. Then I've gone to moments where it's all about the diet. Then it's all about possibly work, because we've got deadlines and targets and so forth. So we go through moments. It's like you may be in listening to LBC radio as an example, and then you're suddenly listening to rock music, and suddenly you're doing something else and so forth. And so I go through these sort of sometimes these moments, and for me it's about healthy. What is that healthy, and a lot of that is about the optimal balance, and balance is the key word for me in terms of what that balance looks like. And recently I think I overdid it. I went to the gym after sort of 10 years of not going to the gym. Did you go straight back to what you used to do? Biggest mistake ever.
That's what we do though, isn't it? We go there and we think, I used to lift 100 kilos, I'll just go straight back to that, and then we injure ourselves.
You know what? That's exactly what I did.
Is that what?
That's exactly what I did. Exactly what I did, and I injured myself. And I suddenly picked up these weights. It was exactly 100 kilos. You're exactly that. And I thought, oh my God, what's happened here? And suddenly, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Because I'm in my mind, yes, I'm not a Tom Cruise, but in my mind, I'm not the person that you're looking at.
It's residual age, isn't it? We have this I'm 20 in my mind.
In my mind, exactly
and
that.
I could do that when I was
exactly
20.
That. So you're looking at a different person to the picture, to the person that I've pictured in my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, I can do this. I used to do this, and suddenly I can't, and I've sort of fallen, and I've fractured my rib.
Oh gosh!
And it's.
It's
as long as it took
takes a while to recover from a fracture.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a shock for me, because I had to go to the A&E. They, did the X-rays and all the rest of it, and then realised that I've really damaged myself, and I've done the classic mistake that nobody should really do. And I can give advice to anybody else to say, take it easy and so forth, but. I don't know, man. I felt really like a fool, to be honest with you. And
it's very hard to take our own advice, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. It's taken me a while to recover from that, and that was, it's about 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So so I've recently gone back, but I'm not doing any weights at the moment. I used to do a lot of weights, but I'm sort of going back into cardio. I need to get my weight down. I need to get my.
Is that the main goal at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment it's weight loss.
Yeah.
At this moment in time, it's weight loss.
Yeah.
So the weight that I'm in, it's very embarrassing for me at the moment.
So you want to balance that out?
I need to reduce that.
Do you mind if I give you a
please,
would that be helpful?
Please, yeah.
So a couple of things come to mind with your extraction. I wonder if there's diabetes in your family. Is there a risk of diabetes for you in your family history?
So my mum had diabetes.
Okay.
Both my mum and father passed away. My father passed away because of cancer. My mum, she had sepsis, and suddenly that was a shock for us. My father, we were sort of because he had cancer, he went through therapy, treatment. He recovered, then he had cancer again. So there was an element of sort of we were thinking about his vulnerabilities and so forth. With my mom, it was very sudden, very sudden, within a day, to be frank with you.
Wow, what a shock.
Very sudden. I'm not a diabetic yet, but I'm a pre-diabetic.
Well, that's what I was wondering with this question, because if you have a reasonable, good kidney function, and you need to lose weight, and you need to lose fat.
Got fatty liver.
You've got fatty liver.
I've got fatty liver, yeah.
So there's fat infiltrating your liver, which means there's lots of fat sort of overload. The best thing you might be able to do is to do a keto diet, where you actually decrease the amount of carbohydrates that you eat, which is things like sort of rice, pasta, chapatis, naans, potatoes, bread, anything that's got lots of flour or carbohydrate in it. And if you do that, you actually will lose fat, and then feel clearer, reduce your risk of diabetes. You'll burn up the liver in the liver fat there, and actually, you may well actually find more energy. And you can also do that by doing fasting. So I know you've heard of intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And again, the key thing here is to stay well hydrated. But to eat a sort of a high protein and higher fat diet, but good fats. Cut out the processed food and reduce the carbohydrates. So I'll give you an example. I was overweight in a similar position to yourself when I was about 40, and I thought I have to do something here because I was 15.5 stone, way heavier than I should have been, and I'm 6 foot, and I was normally 13.5 stone, and I just gained weight through stress, and I did this keto diet, and without changing my exercise at all, I lost 10 kilos in 3 months.
10 kilos in 3 months?
In 3 months, and got back down to a weight where I felt much better. I could fit into my trousers from university again. But it might be something to do because it reduces your diabetic risk. It will reduce your heart disease risk all being well. And actually, it might give you the energy you need to keep going, think more clearly. So if you're from a family of big people, fasting and going for keto diets is something that might be really worth doing. And there's a great website called dietdoctor.com that was designed by a Swedish doctor who wanted to tackle people who struggle to lose weight. And there's some free, a 2-week free trial you can sign up to, and you can get a load of meal plans on there. And I'll send you a link afterwards. But this is the kind of thing we do all the time with business people and CEOs, because I have to do this myself. I've got to keep my weight in check, and I'd actually just used this example to lose 4 kilos since Christmas. Because we all slip up sometimes. You had an injury, so you gain weight, and actually it's more about what we eat than what we do in terms of weight management. So we are what we eat, and
absolutely.
Hippocrates, I believe, said, let food be your medicine, let medicine become your food. So this is the next step. We can take this forward.
Absolutely. I need to do it, and I'm completely sort of focused, and this is the where I am in terms of my age and in terms of life. I need to sort of get that balance right, and need to sort of work on all of these areas.
Definitely. Well, Saf, it's been so interesting talking to you today.
Absolutely.
I look forward to working with you in the future on this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in. It's been really interesting talking to you,
Thank you,
hearing
Dr.
your journey and seeing what you're doing for other people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, and I hope you have a safe trip home. So that's it for today. I hope my guest and I have helped you meet some of your health versus wealth challenges. Now, to hear more from me, Dr. Ben, why not subscribe on your usual podcast platform? And if you like my advice or you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me on podcast@drfinlays.co.uk. Anyway, I hope to see you again, but for now, it's goodbye from me, Dr. Ben.